Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the pre-show. I'm John Idarola, and you are all other people. I can't go through all of the names. There's like 400 of you already, but thank you for being here, each and every one of you. We got a lot to talk about before the show, in which, by the way, Jessica Burbank is going to be joining me. And don't you worry, I'm not going to bring her on the show and then not give her what she needs, which is discussion of monetary policy and inflation and stuff. So we're going to be doing that. There's actually quite a bit of news on that, including the passage of the debt deal, yay, and other stuff around inflation and everything. And besides that, pretty bombshell information coming out in this audio tape of Donald Trump talking about classified documents. It's pretty fascinating. And Meghan McCain's thoughts on woke schools. That's going to be fun. So we got a lot to look forward to coming up on the show, but a lot to talk about here in the pre-show as well. So prepare yourself and hit that like button because we got this Roger Stone story that I'd love to talk about, but we're only going to do it if we get to 1,000 likes. Anyway, Emma Jordy Report Thursdays. Emma's not here. Forget about her for right now. And my pre-port, yeah, so apologies. If you watched the show yesterday, you know that I had to rush home from the studio because we lost power. That's why I wasn't able to do the pre-port. It's basically never the case that I'm just sitting here and we don't do the pre-port. I had to drive home again. But anyway, thank you all for being here. Okay, as we launch into Pride Month, I will remind you, we're going to be doing a Pride special right after the Young Turks today. I'm going to be leading the first half hour of it. It's going to be awesome. Hope to see you there. Moondragon says, loving the slick cut. I did that until I lost my hair. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I needed it to be shorter. I needed the sides and the back to be shorter. Once it starts to get long, it annoys me. But anyway, we are launching into Pride Month, and so here we're going to be covering on the full show more reasons that Pride Month is also going to be Hell Month from the point of view of the right. But here's how Ben Shapiro decided to launch us into Pride Month. Because he wants to seem to be the reasonable one, by the way. So take a look at this. Any society that isn't normatively based on heterosexual family formation is definitionally doomed to collapse. Pretending that society ought to be apathetic about such matters, or even worse, condemnatory of the presence of traditional norms, is civilizationally suicide. Man, this dude spent his entire budget of adverbs in one tweet. That doesn't mean that we ought to be cruel to those who don't fit the norm. We shouldn't. But celebrating pride in violation of core norms means destroying those norms. That's the entire point of the exercise. And with those norms goes a durable society. Now, if any of you spend the time or the mental energy to really dig into what he said there, what he seemed to say there but did not say there, then you might come out of this wondering, hey, wait a second, once you get past all the high-priced vocabulary words and adverbs, he doesn't actually prove the case that he's making. He doesn't even attempt to prove the case that he's making. He is saying that unless a society is based on heterosexual family formation, then it's definitionally doomed to collapse. That's a bold claim. You might think it would be accompanied by bold evidence. It's not even accompanied by shitty evidence. It's not accompanied by any evidence. In fact, he sort of gives away the game in that first sentence saying it's definitionally doomed to collapse. And isn't that convenient? If it's by definition doomed to collapse, I guess he doesn't need to prove the point that he's making, and he does not. He simply says it's suicide, it's doomed to collapse, blah, blah, frickin' blah. I leave it to you to figure out why that would be, or just gloss over it and go ahead with our definitionally cruel assaults on the LGBTQ community that I want to seem to be, like, kind of to the side of. Obviously, I support all these politicians. Obviously, I support this legislation, but I'm not one of the cruel ones. I'm just doing this because of philosophy and civilization and whatever. Well, that will be a great deal of comfort for the families that are being destroyed by your policies, I'm sure. You see, he's not one of the radical ideologues. He just likes big words, that's all. This is his preemptive defense, because, of course, he doesn't want to seem to be one of the Michael Knowleses or the Charlie Kirks or the Matt Walshes. No, he's an intellectual gladiator, in fact, who just happens to agree with everything they do. but for different reasons. And that's important and better definitionally, I suppose. The end result is the same, but he's supposed to be better. Anyway, hold on. I apologize. I missed a few comments. Oh, man. Anthony McLendon's been here for 27 months as a Tier 3 member. Says, hi, John. What did you think of Night of Champions? And did you get a chance to view the video I tweeted you and JR? It was a couple of old matches of old school women's wrestling. I'm not sure that I saw that. If you could resend that, that would be helpful. I thought Night of Champions was cool. I thought that I was surprised by what happened with Asuka and Bianca. That was cool. Cody and Brock was good. And the last match was awesome when Jimmy Uso kicked Roman Reigns in the head. I gasped. I was actually very surprised by that. I did not think they were going to go that far yet. So that was very cool. Okay, everybody. That's Ben Shapiro. He knows bigger words than you, so he is morally superior to you. Do not ever forget it. Anyway, I want to play you a little bit of video really fast. Again, 1,000 likes if you want to talk about Roger Stone. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there's 700 in the chat that haven't hit the like button. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so there is a hearing going on that has to do with child education. We're going to have a little bit of Bernie Sanders here, but more Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. There's two videos that we have to play for you. So first of all, take a look at this.
I have a lot of concerns about this, and it still baffles me that the chairman of our committee, Health Education, I'm going to put right...
Okay, so this is the thing about Bernie Sanders being a socialist or something. Is not the important part.
Appointed list. That's over our education system. I have a book here in front of me called Our Skin that has been endorsed by NACI, and I'm going to read exactly what this book says. You guys might find it interesting. A long time ago, way before you were born, a group of white people made up an idea called race. They sorted people by skin color and said that white people were better, smarter, prettier, and they deserved more than everybody else. This would be taught if we socialize our pre-K system. This would be taught.
Do you disagree with that?
Wait, hold on.
Everybody else. Our pre-K system. This would be taught.
Do you disagree with that findings in the book?
1,000%. How about we teach Jesus loves me? How about this? And teaching Jesus loves the little children. The lyrics go, red and yellow, black and white, they're all precious in our sight.
Why does he have a song?
Now, which one would you think would be better? I'll ask everybody.
Well, I don't know. I think that if you were benefiting from and hope to continue the sort of white supremacist system that is described in that first book, then yeah, I think you'd probably prefer that the second one be taught, because that is a clever little distraction. It pretends that that system doesn't exist. There's a couple of great things in there. So first of all, he said, I'm going to read this book for you. I think you might find it interesting, as if he's just been handed, like, never before seen classified government documents. And he's going to blow your fucking mind at all the stuff they don't want you to know they're teaching. It's fucking endorsed by these organizations. It's being taught. People can find out about this. It's not actually a surprise. Also, this will be taught if we socialize our pre-K education. What the fuck does the one have to do with the other? First of all, it is being taught. We don't need to socialize the pre-K system to teach something that's already been being taught, as you have already described. Second of all, what does socialism have to do with which particular pre-K books are being taught? They don't understand anything about anything that they're saying. But that is not actually the most amazing part of the video. See, he's going to interact with one of the guests that they brought in. So let's jump to that for just a second. There's an amazing Freudian slip in this.
I disagree. First, it is important that we teach Jesus. And
Absolutely.
Jesus is what we teach.
So which one is
But
better?
the reality is...
So do you think this is...
Could you answer the question, please?
No, I don't want reality. I'm asking the question, which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape.
Misspoke. So...
Yeah, but did you really misspeak? Maybe you misthought. I don't want reality. I've set up a stupid straw man, and I want her to comply with it. Which is better? There's only either this book or this poem that teach this. The kid's gonna learn one or the other. She already said we teach the Jesus stuff. We're just not only going to teach Jesus loves you. Now, get in the coal mines, you young peasants. Like, that's not actually how education is going to work. I apologize. I know that you do not want reality. Senator Mark Wayne Mulley, but that's not actually how our education system is going to work. He hates the idea that we wouldn't simply assume that again, remember, these are the populists. They stand against the elites. They stand against the status quo. And yet they do not want kids to even begin to have an inkling that maybe every single thing that is the way it is should be the way it is. We should just take as a given that all of that is right and true and moral back into antiquity and should never be changed. Wouldn't that be convenient for those who have benefited so much over thousands of years from the status quo? Anyway, we got more nonsense to get to in just a sec, but okay, Luck Dragon says, in defense of POTUS, he did slip in some major wins, and the Senate still gets their cake. I do wish Biden had played a stronger hand against McCarthy. Major wins. Look, if we assume that what we should have gotten was way worse, then I suppose he got some wins. But if we do not assume that, if we don't assume that, by the way, we ever needed to engage in these negotiations, if we assume that the Democrats could have raised the debt ceiling back before they lost the majority, preemptively raised it, then we never would have gone through any of this. He wouldn't have had to do these negotiations, and these major wins, which are just comparative wins compared to a worse version of the deal, like, we wouldn't have ever had to go through that. So yes, under this actual situation, it's better than it could have been, but my issue is that we didn't need to end up in this situation. So yes, it could, you're not wrong, it could have been worse. The next one probably will be. April Craren says, if they want a country run on religion, they should move to Iran. Well, there's plenty of, look, America is in large part run based on their religious views in a lot of different areas. Let's see. Yes, so actually we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We still need like 150 more likes to see if we get it. Anyway, a lot of conservatives want to boycott Chick-fil-A. Not all of them are on board. Here is Kaylee, apparently milk toast McEnany, and take a look at the argument that she makes for not boycotting it.
Many are questioning if the backlash is starting to go too far. Emily, Chick-fil-A is founded by S. Truett Cathy. He's a devout Southern Baptist. His son, same, a strong Christian. They close every Sunday. You know, I'm in the airport, I want Chick-fil-A. They're closed on Sunday in honor of the Sabbath. Until they start selling tuck swimsuits, I'm not going to be boycotting Chick-fil-A. They're a great company. Many are...
So here's the thing. You watch the news. You follow the news every day. You follow us, and we had talked about those stories. So most of the words that she used in that sentence probably make sense to you in a different way, and for different reasons. They make all the sense in the world to the Fox News audience. But can we stop for a second and just acknowledge that to a rational person living a regular life, what the fuck is going on in our politics? What are you talking about until they sell tuck swimsuits? Well, that is, of course, a reference to the Target thing, and she is continuing to advance the same lies about them trying to groom kids with tuck-friendly kids' swimsuits. It was never true. They've never been sold. That Republicans do not care that this is a lie. They've never once been able to demonstrate that this happened, and it doesn't matter because none of this is supposed to be founded on reality. All of this is supposed to be a convenient and easy, like, end round to the argument they want to make. The reason they talk about kids, even when they have to lie about all the facts, is actually persuading people of your position is difficult when your position sucks ass and everyone knows it. So instead, you take the shortcut of just saying they're coming for your kids, they're trying to ruin your kids, they're doing perverted stuff with your kids. And it's much easier, and that's what they want. They're not doing all of this because they believe those things they say are true. They're doing it because they want to do it for different reasons. When you're talking about the elites versus the base loves the experience of participating in a societal hate fest. They love the idea that they're doing something that's necessary and fighting against these subversive forces, even if the forces don't actually exist. The elites are doing it as a distraction, of course, and she's participating in that. What she's doing right there is one of the reasons why I don't feel particularly bad for her that she's being called milk toast by Donald Trump. She is, never forget it, still a terrible person. super fast before we move on to our last story. Thank you for getting us to the 1,000 likes, everyone. Lauren Boebert hated the debt deal. She was like raging against it of the last day. She was so ready to vote against it and didn't because she missed the vote. They apparently did the vote while she was running into the building. She didn't show up on time because she's not a serious person. There was no good reason. She just didn't make it. Anyway, with that said, let's talk about Roger Stone now. So, Roger Stone there's this new documentary. There's a bunch of different stories that have come out of this documentary. And in it, there have been a number of times in which he's been willing to say things that, were you to be Donald Trump, I'd imagine you'd have a problem with it. But I think that this might be the worst. So he's apparently says in the documentary, this is a storm foretold, so I guess it's supposed to appeal to the QAnon people. Quote, I have a 40-year record of being able to convince the big man to do what's in his best interest. He's not easy to deal with. It's complicated. He resents any implication that he has handled or managed or directed. Okay, well then you need, a deft hand. How exactly do you do that? You have to say, remember that night when we were in Buffalo and you gave that speech and God, it had to be 10,000 people, the biggest crowd they'd ever seen. And you said X, Y, and Z and the place went crazy. Remember that? I don't know where you came up with that line, but it's one of the best things. He goes on to say, Trump often then goes on to say, he'll use that line again. And he says, doesn't fucking matter whether he ever said it. Doesn't matter. It's time consuming, but it works. I did it for 30 years. He just makes up fake things, or things that he wants to be true, pretends that Trump said it, tells Trump that he got a big round of applause for saying the thing that he didn't say, and Trump, who is desperate to hear the applause again, rewrites his own past to make it possible that he'll get that applause in the future. And apparently this is a strategy that he has never picked up that Roger Stone uses on him over the course of 30 years. Well, it's out there right now. If you were Roger Stone, I don't know why you would be revealing this. If you were lucky enough that this actually works on Donald Trump, who might be president again, why would you reveal this? But now it's out there. If I were Donald Trump, I'd be bothered by this. And if I was one of the people that, is desperately trying to climb that pyramid and throw other people off it to get to the top where Trump will, at least for a small period of time, approve of you, I would be printing this out and handing it directly to Donald Trump to ruin their relationship. And you'd think it would work. Anyway, with that said, we have only 9 minutes until the show starts. Jessica Burbank is going to be joining me. We've got a lot to talk about. It should be a fun story. We're finally going to get to that big Trump buck scam that I had teased earlier this week, as well as the true cause of inflation, which I had been told was a conspiracy theory all along. And we're also going to reveal some of the other ways that Pride Month is going to be Hell Month. So prepare yourself. We'll get to it in just a few.